Coming up, Indigenous birth workers in Alaska are reclaiming traditional birthing practices. And how has the newsroom changed over the years now that the delivery of printed newspapers continues to decline? How does this impact journalism? I'm Mackenzie Allen Charmley. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from the ICT newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona State University welcomes 3,500 Indigenous students from Arizona and across the nation. It serves one of the largest populations of Indigenous students among U.S. colleges and universities. We created a sense of place for tribal nations to create futures of their own making through community outreach and research, taught by world-class Indigenous faculty where they see a reflection of themselves and their experiences. Find community at ASU.
Chenangale, we're happy you could join us. We start in outer space, where Indigenous astronaut Nicole Mann continues to boldly go where no Native woman has gone before. Last Friday, the NASA astronaut and first Native American woman in space exited the International Space Station. Mann, along with a Japanese astronaut, began conducting a spacewalk to work on the installation of a planned solar array. In a video courtesy of NASA, the Native astronaut can be seen carrying her equipment bag. The solar project is part of a continuing effort to expand the space station's power grid. A citizen of Wailaki Valley Indian tribes in Northern California, Mann is also a Marine colonel and test pilot. The Indigenous astronaut will leave the space station in another month or so. This was her first ever spacewalk. A sexual misconduct case against a Pawnee artist is moving ahead to a trial. Last week, at a preliminary hearing, a Pawnee County judge ruled that there is enough evidence to try the case against Walter Bunkie Echo Hawk Jr. Echo Hawk was arrested last year for charges of lewd behavior with a child under 16, as well as felony possession of juvenile pornography. Assistant District Attorney Jeff Jones, who is the prosecutor on the case, told ICT he believes the state has a good chance at conviction. Echo Hawk's attorney Dan Good also spoke to ICT and says his client will plead not guilty at the arraignment in district court set for February. From there, the case will most likely be set for a jury trial later this year. A new report says Native Americans are significantly overrepresented in the U.S. prison system. The report released by the MacArthur Foundation reveals the issues worsens in states with larger Native populations. According to the study, Indigenous people are incarcerated 38% over the national average. In North Dakota, Native Americans are under 6% of the population, but are incarcerated 7 times higher than white people. The report also found that young Native men are sentenced more harshly than any other racial group. Sierra Hansen, one of the study's Indigenous authors, says over-incarceration is tied to colonial violence and upheld by policies. Some of the report's recommendations include strengthening the tribal justice systems and working in a better context with the community. A seed bank in Arizona is helping to keep Indigenous agricultural pathways alive. Before grocery stores and fast food, Indigenous people in the Southwest depended on their innovative farming techniques. Native Seed Search, a nonprofit seed bank, is keeping that knowledge alive by restoring traditional crops that go back hundreds of years. The organization started in 1983 with the help of donated seeds from the tribal nations they partnered with. Education manager Andrea Carter says elders told the group that they wanted the seeds for the foods their grandparents used to grow. And that project 40 years ago led to the collection and preservation of endangered traditional seeds from communities in the Southwest. Now, with a renewed interest by a younger generation, Native Seed Search is hopeful for the future of Indigenous agriculture. One tribal nation in Virginia is reclaiming a big parcel of its homelands. The Rappahannock people lived off the rich, fertile land in the area around Fones Cliffs, a unique rock formation in the state's northern neck. But after illegal land grabs and discriminatory policies, the nation was left with just a fraction of lands they still hold sacred. Now, through a recent deal with a conservation group, the tribe is regaining roughly 960 acres along a 4-mile stretch of the cliffs. The land is part of 1,600 acres that the nation has fought for decades to reclaim and protect from development. Chief Ann Richardson says the deal means her nation can finally return to their lands and teach people what it means to them. Experts say the deal permanently guarantees that the land will be protected from future development. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Reproductive justice. That's the mission of the Alaska Native Birthworkers Community. The grassroots group is reclaiming Indigenous birth practices to support families throughout their birthing journey. To these birth workers, sovereignty begins at first breath. I interviewed the co-founders to learn more. Well, welcome. Thank you both for joining me today. To get right into it, I want to start with what exactly is the Alaska Native Birthworkers Community?
Yeah, you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so uvang anungasuk ut kiagavig mugaranga patkatat kuyagaranga. So my Inupiaq name is Nungasuk, and I also go by Abra, Patkotak, and I'm from Utqiagavik, from the Patkotak family, and I'm a co-founder of Alaska Native Birthworkers along with Margaret, and we also have additional team members who are not here with us today, and I'm an Indigenous birth worker.
Danzun Giido Dana Suuza Margaret Olin Hoffman David Suuza Tlega Udan Islan Betikta Udana Islan Tla Loga Udzan Zadanslit Dagaiga Glisto. I'm Margaret. I'm also one of the co-founders with the Alaska Native Birthworkers Community. As Abra mentioned, not here with us this morning are Lena Jacobs and Akbik Apuk. So the Alaska Native Birthworkers Community is a community-based group of Indigenous parents, aunties, birthworkers that came together first as volunteers, primarily to support families that are birthing in Anchorage alone, Indigenous families that are birthing alone, apart from their communities and support systems, just as volunteers that recognized the importance of that moment in someone's life, to be there as support to help fill in. And then from there we've grown to also be able to provide trainings to bring more Indigenous birth workers into this circle. So our services now are to provide direct services to family for prenatal, labor and birth, and postpartum support, also childbirth preparation classes, and then traditional knowledge sharing events. We also mobilize donations for emergency food bags and maternity and newborn supplies. And then kind of the second circle is training more Indigenous birth workers, so providing mentorship opportunities for people that want to step into this work, and then also hosting trainings. And then our third kind of circle, our third sister, is looking at our systems and collaborating for more like system-wide changes.
And how exactly did the Alaska Native Birthworkers Community begin?
We identified how removed birth was from communities and how traditionally we gave birth at home in our communities, and now most Alaska Native babies are born in Anchorage and they're evacuated from their home community, oftentimes against their wishes, and then have to stay here away from family, away from the support system. They don't have their moms, their aunties, siblings, everyone there to take care of that person throughout pregnancy and birth. So a lot of times people are just alone, and we realize that's not ideal. And so we stepped in to support people, and eventually too, like, we want to grow a bigger, as Margaret mentioned, our network, so that we have birth workers all across Alaska. We already have people who have attended trainings from rural Alaska, because we are based here in Anchorage, and that is where a lot of births happen. So we're able to go to births at the hospital, at birth centers, at home, wherever people choose to labor. But we hope eventually too to move out and be more spread across Alaska. But Margaret's really great about telling the origin story too.
The origin story, okay, so I don't know how far back to go, but so my background is in community health. I worked in the Alaska Tribal Health System, focused on like community, wellness and prevention for many number of years. And as we were learning more about like upstream prevention, you can't really get further upstream than, pregnancy. So things to support a healthy pregnancy that will support that baby's lifelong health, and then also, recognizing what a tremendous opportunity for the pregnant person too, for their own healing and their lifelong health. So I got really interested in that time of life and how to support it, and tried to start a doula program at our hospital, the Alaska Native Medical Center, and quickly realized it needed to be like a community led, Indigenous birthing person led group. And so kind of stepped back from that. Meanwhile, went to midwifery school. So I left Alaska to go to midwifery school for a couple years. And during that time connected with other Indigenous birth workers from throughout, the States and Canada and, from the South too. And it was just such a impactful connection to connect with other Indigenous birth workers, because oftentimes it feels like we're doing this work alone in our communities. So that line of support was like a lifeline, for me personally, getting through midwifery school. So anyway, during that time, that was around 2015, there was a gathering of Indigenous midwives where a group of us, first met, at least for this kind of like reemergence of organizing around Indigenous midwifery, and felt just how important that was, and so wanted to continue organizing for meeting. And so we did, and we were hosted, this is going a little bit over, we were hosted in somebody's community, and also felt how important that was too, to kind of meet outside of like a conferencey, hotel kind of space, being hosted in somebody's community on their land, eating their foods, being hosted in ceremony. And we're like, oh, we need to keep doing this too. And so we were able to host a gathering like that here in Alaska in 2017. And that's where a lot of us met and continued mobilizing together and stepped forward as volunteers to form the Alaska Native Birthworkers Community.
Your organization heavily values sovereignty. I was hoping you both could touch on the importance of traditional birthing when it comes to tribal sovereignty.
Yeah, well, we talk about sovereignty from first breath, and it's all about empowering people to make choices from an informed place, but also like have the birth that they want. And that's not how it's been historically. And so sovereignty is about making those choices, empowering people so that they can be sovereign and know that they have the right to decisions, informed decisions, to birth how they want, where they want, with the people surrounding them that they want. And I wish I could read on our website, it's not in front of me, but in sacred connection to our land and waters, like that's so important. And when someone is pregnant, like they're carrying like water in their body, and when we are in utero before we're born, we're surrounded by water. It's like such a beautiful thing to think about. Like we know how important water is, and that's our first environment too inside. The womb we're surrounded by that water. So just bringing all those connections to people and empowering them and uplifting them to be, to make the choices for them. That's really kind of how I look at it, in sovereignty from first breath. So when that baby's born too, they're born into ceremony. And it's not like, ideally not traumatizing and not fearful or scary like it often is. And so kind of reclaiming that ceremony and creating ceremony, empowering families to have ceremony for their births so that they can feel really good about it. And that's how it always was. So to reclaim that for our people.
Yeah. So reclaiming that role that we've always had for supporting our family members, our community members during this rites of passage of pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. And also we recognize, no matter where somebody is in their healing journey from the impacts of colonization, pregnancy is such a sacred time. Birth is ceremony, whether the birth keeper or birth giver is aware of that in that moment, or not, it still is. And so we're there to remember that and hold that space for each family, that we can, and also reclaim, remember these traditional roles that we've always had in our communities. And we don't have to ask permission to be there to do this. It's an honor, that each family that we work with invites us into that sacred space with them. And that's the only permission that we need is from our community and our families. There's not like an institutional, certification or anything like that, that we need, because we've always held this knowledge and this right to support our family members in this way.
Out of all the good work that you both do, I was wondering what your favorite parts of the job was and what you love most about being a birth worker.
So many things. One of my favorite things that I was just reflecting on recently is, this year we hosted a training. We usually host like 1 or 2 large birth worker trainings a year. And this year we had somebody participate that was a parent that received services from one of our co-founders, and that spark was lit to also want to do this work. And she's now at a time in her life where she's able to kind of step into it more fully. And it was just so beautiful, like seeing her at the training, and she's since come to one of our childbirth prep classes to help facilitate it, and she's now coming on with us as a contractor with to become an Indigenous birth worker. So to see, a family receive services, be inspired to do that same work, go through our training, and now step into this role as a supported, to have her time and her knowledge and her care supported to also give these services to our community.
Yeah, my favorite part of this work, like Margaret said, it's so many. I love everything I do. I love the people I work with. It doesn't feel like work. Like Margaret said, these are traditional roles that we always held. So just doing what we love to do, supporting our community. But what's been so special, and I did not expect this at all when I stepped into this full time just over a year ago, I've been able to connect with family members in a really special way. So multiple times I met family members for the very first time at their birth. And we didn't even know we were family until they reached out to Alaska Native Birthworkers Community. And I live here in Anchorage, but my Patkotak family is from Utqiagvik, which is 750 miles north of Anchorage. So to find these family members, these illas, just be there with them has been incredible. And then we get to sit down and look at our relatives, so say like, okay, so like your Mao and my Aka are sisters, and then just understand better how we're connected, and also just know that this is how it was, this is how it's supposed to be, so that we're stepping back into that space is just so healing and so powerful. To be there for family, and without A and BC, like that might not have happened. I mean, I don't know if they would have found another cousin by happenstance to come and be at their birth, but it's just been so beautiful. It's happened twice where I've been able to connect with these amazing cousins and be at their birth, and I didn't expect that at all. And we also provide on-call support for the hospital, so a couple different times when I got a call from the midwife or the nurse at labor and delivery, I showed up and it was someone from home that I knew. And they happened to be alone and they just needed a little extra support, but we already had that connection. And so it was a familiar face for me, it was a familiar face for them. And that was really powerful and healing too, to be like, okay, like here's another Inupiaq person with me. We're going to do this together. And it's, yeah, very beautiful.
For our audience members who want to get involved, get services, where can they go to learn more information?
Thanks for asking. So can follow us on social media. We have a Facebook page where we post events, as soon as we get them planned. That's probably the quickest way to get information. And our website, nativebirthworkers.org, has a lot of information.
Yeah, and we're continuing to do trainings. So if you're Indigenous and live in Alaska and are interested in birth work, find out more about our trainings. And then if you're pregnant and want support, we offer support for Indigenous families in Alaska too. So mostly Alaska Native, but other Native people who live here too. And then sometimes we end up meeting virtually. We have a virtual talking space. So for Alaska Native families who want more support, every other week on Zoom we meet. So there's lots of ways to connect with us.
Newsrooms are changing as more and more citizens turn away from the traditional print newspaper. And with dwindling readership, advertisers are looking to invest funds differently to reach customers. ICT is one of a growing number of news outlets that have become nonprofit organizations to deliver the news. Joining us to talk about this new model is Mark Trahant. He's an award-winning journalist and was on the ground floor of rebuilding Indian Country Today and rebranding ICT. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
So this week is National News Literacy Week. This highlights the importance of the media, but also the historic lack of trust. We're seeing historic lows of trust within the media. What does that mean for ICT?
Well, I mean, we're almost the counter narrative because the lack of trust that's reflected in mainstream media is not the case for us. We get letters from small communities across North America with folks sending $10, $15 saying, you're really important to us. And if you look at just the growth of ICT and how dramatic it's been, 2 years ago this program didn't exist. 4 years ago the news site didn't exist. Both now are reaching hundreds of thousands of people in a new way. And more important, creating jobs. ICT has basically hired more people than the entire rest of the industry.
Wow. What can we specifically do as an organization to counter misinformation?
Well, I mean, we're going through a dramatic change in media, and to me it's really exciting. I mean, one of the words that was in your preface that's important is changing, and the other one was decline. And decline implies we're going back to something, and we're not. We're creating something brand new. The Institute for Nonprofit News, which we are a member, just last week reported that nonprofit advertising has now reached 61 million, which sounds like a huge number, but it shows that we're on just the beginning of a long trek because the New York Times still sells $500 million a year in advertising. So that growth trend is really just at the very beginning.
So Indig Public Media was incorporated as a nonprofit almost 2 years ago. Could you touch on the history behind that?
Sure. Well, Indian Country Today started as a newspaper 40 years ago at Pine Ridge. It was then owned by Tim Gallego, who then sold it to the United Indian Nation. And they realized their business model was not working and closed the paper and donated the assets to the National Congress of American Indians. It became really clear about 2 years ago that NCAI had no interest in being in the news business. And that's when we split off and formed Indig Public Media. Since then, I mean, I wrote the very first budget for ICT not more than 4 years ago, and it was $300,000. And this year we're pushing $7 million. So the growth has just been phenomenal.
Goodness, that growth is insurmountable. So one of the things that's really unique about ICT is our collaborative nature. We broadcast for Arizona State University, and we also have many other important partnerships to the organization. Could you touch on those?
Sure. Partnerships are really important. We think it's really a difference in that we can change the media without actually trying to do it all ourselves. And so if we can work with an organization and help them see how important it is to have Indigenous voices in, that's a win regardless of whether it's us or not. The one I'm really excited about, ASU has been just a fabulous partner, and the broadcast is here, of course, and we built that really well. The one I'm excited about now is with Lee Enterprises, which owns newspapers across the country. And we're starting with 2 bureaus that we're going to share reporters in Tulsa and Rapid City. The plan for ICT this year is to open 9 bureaus, and 5 of them will open this year. So that's a lot of growth that we've got to manage all at once.
Well, we're wrapping up our time here, but I wanted to know, Mark, what stories are you working on?
One I'm really spending a lot of time on is Indigenous economics. 90% of all strategic minerals go through reservations or are near reservations or Indigenous lands. And as the country shifts to a new kind of green fuel, that's going to be really important to have conversations about how those minerals are managed and thought of and how we get agreement on them.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us to tell us about ICT.
Happy to do it.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.